All right, time for a quick roundup. As I told you, Caitlin Clark will be returning Wednesday for the Indiana Fever against the Golden State Valkyries. I mean, that was obvious by Stephanie White's comments over the weekend. It was confirmed today, and as I had mentioned, I had it on good authority that that was the target return, which is good for everybody, right? The league, the Fever, but most importantly, you got to make sure Caitlin Clark stays healthy this time. Hopefully, she is 100% ready. And indeed, if she is, the Fever get even more dangerous with the addition of Ari McDonald and the return of Caitlin Clark. Caitlin had a lot to say at practice today about that. Basically, number one, on just returning to play and returning to action.
What have these last few days felt like for you leading into tomorrow's game?
Yeah, I think it's just nice to get back out there and get to the flow of playing with my teammates again, and it's gonna be fun to get back out there hopefully and just feel things again. I think I don't know what type of minutes I'm gonna get will look like, but just when I'm out there, like compete, play hard. This is gonna be a team that's gonna be moving constantly, so just being aware and active, bring energy. Um, and yeah, I think that. I mean, it's obviously hard sitting out and watching for a few weeks, so I'm definitely excited to get back out there.
Steph said yesterday you're not a fan of minutes restrictions. How do you anticipate all that actually going when you play?
Yeah, I mean, I hope to play a decent amount, maybe upper 20s. I guess it just depends how I feel and how the game goes and, what the team needs as well. But, yeah, I mean, I feel pretty good, but probably going to try not to overdo it as well and put myself in a good position moving forward.
So it seems like the injuries have gotten to her a little bit in a sense of the tune change there about it. The minutes restrictions, like, throw them in the garbage versus let's not overdo it this time around, which is good. And obviously, Caitlin Clark is learning something about, herself, her body, all these things in the midst of missing this time due to injury. Another thing she talked about.
Given that you never really missed time, has this been one of the more difficult stretches of your playing career?
For sure, no doubt about it. I think it's been challenging mentally, just, staying in it, and you're way more busy when you're hurt than when you're even coming in and all you do is scout film and come out here and walk through things. So I'm in here hours and hours on hours trying to get my body right and do everything I can to put myself in a position to be available the rest of the year. And that's certainly my goal, and I feel good about that. And but yeah, it's definitely challenging. I think it's been so challenging because I've never been through it before. So just giving myself grace as I continue to come back and get my feet under me. And but I think it's also been like an amazing opportunity for myself too, and allowed me to learn a lot. And I think when we get to the end of the year and get here in the playoffs, I think this is gonna be a moment where I can look back on and be really proud of myself for everything that I went through and how I've dealt with it.
And hopefully, obviously, Caitlin Clark is healthy down the stretch, and that can indeed be the case. Now, the next thing for Fever fans is seeing her pairing with Ari McDonald. I've gone into detail about how I think that is going to work, but Caitlin spoke about that as well. Her new Fever teammate, what it can mean, how it can make the team a little bit less predictable at times.
How much are you just looking forward to being on the court with Ari?
Yeah, I think it'll be great. Obviously, I haven't played a game with her, I don't think, at least. She's kind of been here when I've been out, so I think it'll be great. I think it'll be nice to play with another point guard who can, read the floor really well and, get me to come off a few screens rather than, just playing out of ball screen mostly. And, we're still going to do a lot of that and play in transition and all that. But when we have an opportunity to run me off some screens, and I think that just gives the defense another thing they have to plan for. And we're not, as predictable as we may have been earlier in the season. So try some of that, but I think it'll be a lot of fun.
She went on to talk about how, it's nice to not get picked up 94 feet sometimes, but that the Fever are still at their best when she has the ball in her hands. So it is about finding that balance. Again, echoing basically what I've been saying. In fact, I do think I have those comments as well from Caitlin. Yeah, this was a little bit of a follow-up there.
Talked about kind of taking some pressure off you with Ari kind of running point some actions and you playing off the ball. Just how do you think that will help when you reintegrate onto your court?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be nice probably not to have to bring the ball up against pressure 94 feet, but like I said, that's what I'm best at. So we're still going to do a lot of that. It's, I think, finding a balance and finding the ways to give the defense different looks, and me becoming a better screener and being a good screener and coming off of screens and screening for Kels and all that different type of stuff that's a whole nother layer of things that the other team has to prepare for. So like I said, I feel like it makes us less predictable. And I mean, you're still going to see a lot of the same things that we do, but at times, move us off the ball, and especially out of timeouts and drops, maybe not so much our live flow and our live play. I think we'll be solid.
So there you go. Caitlin Clark on her return. She will be back. Somebody who will not be back is DeWanna Bonner, but Bonner is back with the Phoenix Mercury. No surprise. Everybody kind of saw this coming. It was basically written on the wall, the reuniting with Alyssa Thomas, who's a hell of a ball player. The DeWanna Bonner saga. I think Fever fans are over it, obviously. And I feel like they feel like it's a fresh start in a lot of ways, because in this instance, the team gets Ari McDonald to replace DeWanna Bonner. But the way it went down is still like, because there have been players forcing themselves out of situations before, but I don't know if I recall a player forcing themselves out of a situation so fresh off of a free agent signing. Here was Bonner being welcomed back by the Mercury crowd.
And two-time WNBA champion, DeWanna Bonner.
We'll see if it actually works for the Phoenix Mercury. They've been playing pretty well over the course of the season. Bonner was not playing great when she was with the Fever, but I think at this point, Fever fans would say DeWanna Bonner has done the team a favor by leaving the squad. Meanwhile, she still does have that pedigree, so maybe she can find the right role with the Mercury. Ultimately, July 30th is the takeaway there. That is when the Fever host the Phoenix Mercury, when they will play DeWanna Bonner next. And it's home. It's home, baby. It's home. And lastly, Angel Reese was a little upset in the midst of a Chicago Sky loss to the Washington Mystics. Frustrated, I guess, is the appropriate word. Angel actually knocked a clipboard out of the strength and conditioning coach's hands on her way to the bench. Pissed off. And you know what? I like seeing that from Angel Reese, to be honest with you. I like seeing that investment in the team, the competitive spirit, the fire. She's been playing great basketball as of late. I don't know if it's a coincidence that it's happening with Camila Cardoso out of the lineup, because they can play a little smaller. Angel Reese can slide into her more natural spot. If you look at her numbers in recent games, she's been putting them up. 10 and 19, 18 and 17, 17 and 18, 24 and 16, 16 and 17, 22 and 15. The frustration there coming because it's not going into the win column for the Sky. I think she failed to get a rebound on that play, and she actually called out the team for not boxing out for rebounds later afterwards in the post-game press conference. Nonetheless, it's a rough season for the Chicago Sky, but Reese has snapped out of that sophomore slump, and you won't hear me criticizing her over showing a little emotion and a little competitiveness. I'm sure there'll be people who try to play the body language hypocrisy game, because some tried to cherry pick something Caitlin Clark did, throwing her arms up in the air. But, I'm not using one to beget the other. I'm looking at each individually, and guess what? I didn't have a problem with either.